It's time to talk resistance training. And the reason I say resistance training and not cardio is because this is where we give our body the stimulus to change. The stimulus to change in the most efficient way to give you the results you want short term and long term. So for your short term and long term health. Now, few crucial points here. Resistance training can count as body weight exercise, okay, because we're still working against the resistance, we're still moving our body weight. However, as we improve, as we move up the levels, and depending on where your starting level or your experience is, we may need other equipment to get the right stimulus to work in the most efficient way. So at the start, you may come in and 5 kneeling press-ups may do the job to get you working to the right intensity, which I'll come on to stimulate a positive change. But as you improve over time, you then progress to full press-ups, and then you're doing 10 press-ups, and then it now takes you 20, 30 press-ups to get the same stimulus as the 5 did at the start. And then it becomes, well, maybe it's now more efficient for us to actually use some dumbbells or use a bar and do a bench press, and that's where we end up going down that route, and that's the journey that we go through. But now, the key is to understand on how to do this efficiently. Number 1, intensity. So the intensity when we train is really, really important. And first of all, I need you to understand, this doesn't mean you need to be working at a 10 out of 10, all out, being absolutely exhausted at the end of every session. But what is important is we complete what are called working sets. And generally, in terms of the quantity of working sets that we do, we need 10 if you're brand new, 15 if you're an intermediate, so if you've been training for up to about 3 years. So for most of us here, we'll sort of get to that stage along the journey. Even after 3 years, you'd still be an intermediate, and then we start to move into the advanced category, and then we're looking at 20 sets per muscle group. Now, what does that mean? A set, for example, would be a set of press-ups. So we'll do 10 press-ups, that's one set. We take a rest, and then we come and do another set of press-ups, okay? Now, the way to class them as a working set means that they must be within 2 to 3 reps of failure. So we call this reps in reserve. So using those press-ups as an example, if you could do, if your life depended on it, 10 press-ups, okay, we get to 10, but there are no more in the tank, then that means we've got 0 reps in reserve. Now, the science is really, really clear. We do not need to train to that intensity, to where we literally physically cannot do another one every single set. But we do need to work within 2 to 3 reps of that. So if we get to 8 and we go, right, I know I could only do 2 more, perfect, that's enough. The science shows that we get the same level, or very close level of stimulus to generate the development in terms of maintaining muscle and helping us to utilize energy, burn calories, as we would if we were to do all 10 reps without the extra effort, without the extra breakdown. And so it's the most efficient way moving forward. Now, that remains the same on every single set. So for example, if you're intermediate, you're going into the gym, you're doing a barbell bench press. Every set, in theory, we should be using a different weight, because we're a little bit fresher. We then only get that 90 seconds maximum, really 2 minutes, 3 minutes max of rest. And so we should be a bit fatigued as we work through 2, 3, 4 sets maybe. That brings me on to the next point, rest. We must rest. The enemy of stimulating muscle development is a lack of rest, okay? This is why running doesn't work for this. This is why classes doesn't work for this, because it doesn't achieve the intensity that we need. We don't get close enough to failure. Because we're working consistently, we can't get close enough to failure because we have to stop. So to make sure that you are working at the right intensity, you want your rest. You're going to want to need your rest. You're going to need to want your rest, sorry. And that is when we can then rest, recover, and go again. So we work at a high intensity, get really close to failure, and then we relax. And then we go again, and then we relax, and then we go again, and then we maybe move on to another exercise to stimulate another muscle group. Muscle groups, maybe we could define them as chest, shoulders, arms, legs. You could do front and back of legs, and glutes if you wanted to, back. So we've got, 5 muscle groups there. So we want to be looking at 10, 15, 20, depending on your category, working sets per muscle group per week to get the right amount of stimulus. Now, Really, really important to understand that we take away from this that the intensity is the crucial part, because when we get the intensity right, we get the load right, we put the weight down when we've only got 1, 2, maximum 3 left in the tank. Really 2 is the sweet spot. Then we're going to be stimulating our body to maintain muscle. Happy days. That's going to help with tone. That's going to, with all this weight that we're going to be losing. If weight loss is your thing, then great. We're going to be losing weight. But if we don't lift weights, the weight that we lose, and this is the enemy of maybe some of the jabs or some real extreme diets, is people fall into this sort of skinny fat world where they're now not stimulating the muscle, so their body goes, well, I don't need this muscle, so I may as well get rid of it. And muscle costs our body energy to maintain, so yeah, let's get rid of that. Whereas by doing the training, by putting your body under pressure, by letting your body know that, no, you need this muscle, it keeps hold of it, supports our metabolism in the long run, helps us with long-term health, because we know that muscle is, that paired with the strength of our heart and lungs, are the top 2 things that we can do to help us prevent and fight illness. So this is the way that we want to go. Work against resistance, and depending on your level, that's my job to make sure that we're working with the right movements to stimulate the positive change, to stimulate each muscle group separately into the right quantity. So what do I need you to focus on? Technique, 100%. This is where our videos come in. Every single day I get a video from someone in the gang sending me a technique video. So this can literally be, grab your phone, if you're in the gym, rest it against your water bottle. If you're at home, put it up on the side and just record you doing a set, doing a movement, unless you are 1000% confident that you are doing it absolutely perfectly. Send it over. This then puts us in a place where we are, 1, preventing injury. Yes, great, we'll take care of that, but there'll always be something that I can tweak or improve slightly, which just makes it more efficient. You're putting the energy, the effort in anyway, so send me those videos. That will help ensure that we're getting the maximum bang for our buck in return for the amount of effort that we're putting in, so we stimulate the right muscles and get the positive change that we want. I think that covers everything on resistance training. Really important that we get our technique right, so use those videos to help me. Really important that we use our rest, because then we can work at the right intensity to maintain muscle, build new muscle, and as a result our body is more willing to utilize fat for energy, which helps with our tone, definition, shape, and achieving our goals in the long run overall, both with our health and our aesthetics. So you know the deal. Send me your thoughts, send me what you're going to take away from this one, and I'll see you on the next one.